Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Mike Kollin at MikeKollin.com. This song is called In Search of Solitude by Scott Buckley. Okay, so this video is going to kind of, I'm just going to jump into it because I'm not trying to explain. It's not going to help. So the Bible, this is me being very kind, by the way. The Bible was taught wrong. It was also taught by the wrong people. So I've done extensive research, study, tons of education on linguistics, communication, male to female communication, and the differences between the two. Now, before I get to that, I'm going to say this. We as a species, as a human race, we are breaking through to the next level. So my studies when it comes to communication, and by the way, that's what linguistics means. I study something called neuro-linguistic programming. So if you go to Berkeley or Stanford and meet someone who has their master's or doctorate degree in linguistics, it's a different form of linguistics and a different way of studying linguistics. So those are the people that will literally go to a tribe in, South America or something, and they'll study how do they roll their R's or the diphthong, stuff like that. They try to learn a tribe's language, etc. So the way I study it, or the people that train me, is it's neuro-linguistic programming is actually another form or what you could call as neuro-linguistic psychology. Okay, so I came back and took a clip out of here because I'm going to do it later because it'll make sense more. I had a client who was a very, very successful person. I mean, he was not undefeated, but he was a world champion in boxing in the 70s. He was, now I don't mean just one, but he unified. He had all the belts, all 5 of the belts at the time, unified. He was just like the top of his field, okay? And then he got 3 master's degrees, one from Berkeley, one from Stanford, and I believe the other one was from either USC or UCLA. I forget which one. He was a very successful businessman. So when I met him, he was probably in his mid-50s, I would say. And his degrees were in psychology, communication, and the other one was in, I think it was architecture or design, something like that, which I kind of thought was odd because it was totally different than the other ones. Oh man, I kind of already, I might take that piece out earlier. Okay, so I'm going to ask you guys a question. Okay, so I did go and take that. It's about 5 seconds. I kind of gave it away, so I took it out. It's not there, so now I can do the question. Now, if you've already read my book, or if you have heard it on one of my videos in the past, that doesn't count. This is only for people who have never heard this from me. Okay, so here's what I want you to do. I'm going to ask you a question. I want you to get a pen and paper, or you can type it if you want, okay? And I want you to rapid fire. Do not think. Throw it out. The first answer that comes up, the second, you can have more than one answer, like 1 or 2 or 3 or whatever, okay? Now, if you honestly do it this way, you're going to learn something very, very important. Okay, so if you haven't gotten a pen and paper or something to write it down with, pause it here and then come back. Okay, so here's the question. Ready? Okay, I'm going to answer it, and if whatever comes up, even if it doesn't make sense, just write it down, or like the first couple words of it, just write it down, write it down. Okay, ready? Here we go. What are words? Write it down. Don't think. Write it down. Whatever. First thing comes up. Gut feeling, first image, first thought. What are words? Go, go, go. Okay, so just a phrase or word or paragraph, not a paragraph, maybe a short sentence. Okay, so here's the answer. Okay, you got your thing done. Okay, so just write 1, 2, maybe three thoughts or 3 words or phrases, etc. Okay, I'm going to give you the answer now. So words are emotions. Now to women, they're like, well, yeah, of course. Whereas men, they're like, what? What are you talking about? Why? And by the way, the music is going to go down in about 5 seconds. So my client, the professional boxer, world champion businessman, he looked at me and goes, well, words are words. Words you use to talk. Words you use to, get your point across. Now, I purposely had a young lady there on purpose because men never believe me when I say this. So here's her reaction. She instantly turns, looks at him, and she crosses her arm like she's protecting her heart. She goes, no, words are emotions. And he looked at me and he's like, really? Okay, so here's why words to women are emotions, okay? So to women, they process words through the right brain. The right brain is literally the emotional processor. It processes words through the 5 senses: see, hear, feel, feel, smell, and taste. Okay, so it filters. So think of that as a filter. It's an emotional filter that processes through the 5 senses. So when I want to say women, but I'm in my right brain a lot now too because I've conditioned myself to be there. Is when I'm listening to someone, I'm sensing and feeling what they're saying, literally. So the majority of my subscribers to this channel are women. Why? Because of the way I communicate. Now, if you're a man, if you go back in the last 10, 15 videos, you'll notice how women will say, I just subscribed. Your voice is so soothing. It's so calming. It's the way you talk, etc., etc. Well, that wasn't on accident. I had to practice these internal awareness techniques for a long, long time to be able to do that in a natural way without thinking about it. Because if I think about it, it'll put me in my logical brain, which will then make me talk more nasally and nosed and more narrow, and that's very irritating to the woman's emotional system. So if you want to learn more about that, buy my book, Cracked Female Code, first, and then after that there's a 5-6 day training that I do. So I want to get right back to what this video is about. Okay, so here's the thing. The right brain processes through the emotional filter. The left brain processes through logic. That's it. So even if you're talking about an emotional issue from the right brain, a man will unconsciously bring those words and process them through the logical filter, and that changes the meaning and the physical experience of it. Now, a man's probably going, physical experience of what? What are you talking about? Because the left brain is disconnected from the 5 senses, and thus he does not get a physical experience of it. Again, look at the left brain and the right brain as 2 different processors. Okay? They process words and body language in 2 completely different ways. Think of them as filters. So the right brain filters words through the five senses: see, hear, feel, smell, and taste. And because of that, you get a physical or emotional feeling / experience of what is being said, and that's how you understand. Whereas the left brain, think of that as a filter. It is processed through logic. All the words are being filtered through logic. And as you notice, when I use that word, I become logical. So when you shift to that brain, it changes the meaning to everything that she just said. So if she says A out of her right brain, he unconsciously brings it over to his left brain, filters it through the left logical processor, and it changes the meaning to everything she just said. It literally changes the meaning to every word and gives a different definition. So she's saying A, and he is hearing B, absolutely believing that she said B when she did not say B, she said A. Now, the left brain is also filters through rules, structure, and organization. In fact, that really is what the left brain is all about. In fact, that's why it's really good when it comes to business, math, and science. It's about rules, structure, and organization. So, if you are reading a book or studying something from the left brain, you're going to hear it and understand it and experience it from a logical perspective. Rules, structure, and organization. If you read that same book through the right brain, you are going to have a completely different experience because you're processing the words through the right brain's through the five senses: see, hear, feel, smell, and taste. It becomes a literal physical experience. So neuro-linguistic programming is, there's a definition, I just lost it, damn it. So it is, hold on a second. It's the study of how words affect your emotions, or I should say how communication affects your emotions, and how those emotions decide whether you do something or not, or how you do it. Now, when I say communication and how that affects your emotions, I'm also talking about your own internal dialogue. I'm also talking about the images and the movies or the little videos that you play in your head while you're doing something or thinking of doing something. So this is all communication, whether it's visual, auditory internal, which is internal dialogue, or auditory external, maybe you might be talking out loud, or maybe someone's talking to you. So it's the study of how does all of this communication stuff that we do in our head, how does this affect your emotions? And then how does that affect the action that you take? Do you back off? Do you get scared? Do you shut down? Do you expand? Do you step into your power? Et cetera, et cetera. So that's essentially what neuro-linguistic programming is about. It is a very, very advanced form of cognitive and behavioral psychology. So for those of you men who say, oh, well, I'm not an emotional person, so this doesn't apply to me. Oh, it absolutely does apply to you. I can't tell you how many. Okay, so when I first came out of the blocks, I was, because of my athletic background in boxing, kickboxing, wrestling, football, etc., and I achieved enough on a national level where I had a name in California. In fact, still to this day, there's certain areas and certain organizations I can go to. They welcome me in like I'm a champion, because at one point I was. So because of that, I just got the word out to a couple people, and then I got the call from the president of the IKF, Steve Fossum, and he had me work with somebody. He's like, hey, can you help this guy? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. And then I worked with my former high school to work with a kid. In fact, the coach called me up and said, hey, we're having problems with this kid. Do you think you can help him? I'm like, yeah, I absolutely turned him around. He almost went to the state championship. This is a kid that had never, and I mean never, won a single match in 3 years. And at this point, he was a senior, and they were about a third of the way through, and he still hadn't won a match yet. And I was like, I looked at the coach, so, well, I mean, he sucks. And he's like, no, he's good. Watch him in practice. And he was good, but when he got on the mat, he kind of froze. So we had to work with that. Here's my point. Men, you are very, very emotionally affected by your thoughts, by the internal dialogue, by what other people say to you. Men like to believe that they're not emotional. You're extremely emotional. Most women, by the time they're 40 to 45 years or older, they start to realize that. Because men, oh yeah, I'm logical. I'm not. I don't believe in emotions. That's beneath me. When men are the most emotional creatures of all, and sensitive. So let's get back to the communication stuff. So I'm going to lead up to a point. There's a greater purpose here. We're going to talk about the Bible, and I'm going to explain how the Bible actually affects you. Not just men, but anyone. So if you process information communication through the left brain, it's going to get filtered through logic, rules, structure, organization. Now, if you process it through the right brain, it's going to be processed through the 5 senses. Now, the left brain is the dissociated brain. It's disconnected from your feelings. It's also the external brain, which is what makes it dissociate. It's like you're disconnected from it. Whereas the right brain is the internal brain. It's when Jesus says, look within. It's like you're going from your brain down inside your body into your emotions and your feelings. So when women listen, they literally open up wide open and they receive it. It's like a funnel that brings the information inside. It's a wide funnel, and they can receive more information. So when a woman goes to the Golden Gate Bridge or the beach and looks west out to the sunset, she opens wide open, and women will literally say things like, oh, when I open up, there it is, open. She opens wide open. When I open up and receive the image of this mountain or this sunset, this beautiful sunset, it just fills me up inside. And men are like, what? Open what? What do you, fills you? Well, what? Ladies, these concepts that you use on a daily basis, we just kind of look at you, roll our eyes and nod and go, oh, okay. Because these are internal concepts and internal languaging that can't be processed through the left brain. It's like, well, we look at you like, what? A lot of times when you speak in that language, we can't even hear it. So when you're in the left brain, which most men are most of the time, not all the time, it's the external brain. So what we literally do is we look out, like our eyes go out, all the way out, like looking down a little tube, like a rifle scope, and we look out to the sun. It's very narrow and very small. Whereas a woman expands all the way to the ceiling of the atmosphere, all the way to the left, miles and miles to the left, 5-10 miles to the right, and it expands all the way around her. Whereas a man, like right now, a man's like, what do you mean expands? What do you mean left and right? Like, what are you talking about? It's kind of close to, now I'm going to say this word, but most men don't really understand. They think they do, but they don't. Peripheral vision is a good way of explaining this to you, but it's way beyond that. If you take the course, trust me, you'll understand. Alright, so here's my point of all of this. What happened was this: because men had the muscle, when you go back over the last 2,000 years, for the most part, women up until probably, I would say 1968 or so, it may be a little bit before, but for the most part, women didn't have much choice in life. Men decided everything, even when they were completely, utterly wrong. For example, the Bible, God, did they get that wrong? So when you read the Bible through the left male brain, guess what you're going to hear? Guess what you're going to see? Rules, structure, and organization. And it's external. It's logical. And it's important. It's all about rules. You got to follow the rules. Wow, they missed the whole picture. And this is why many times the people and even the disciples didn't understand Jesus, because he was speaking in the internal right brain language. Jesus would even cry out in frustration, say, how do you not understand me? There was what did they call you? A rabbi. So these rabbis came out to the field when Jesus fed the people. I think it was 3,000 people. I forget how many people, but he had like 3 loaves of bread and 2 fish or whatever it was, and he broke it up, and he kept expanding, and his followers were like, "What? How is he doing this?" And he goes, "Bring some baskets," and they're filling up the baskets from these 2 or 3 loaves of bread and 2 or 3 fish, and he just keeps ripping them apart, and it keeps multiplying and multiplying, and he fed the entire crowd of people. Now listen to what I'm about to say here. I'm making a point. So a couple of the rabbis heard about this, and they went out to the field, and they started asking some of the people, like, "Hey, what's going on? What's going on? Why is everyone all excited? And what's going on?" It's like, "Dude, Jesus did this miracle." And the guy's like, "Well, what do you mean?" He goes, "Oh, he took the loaves of bread, and he pulled them apart, and he multiplied, and he fed the whole crowd." And he explains the whole miracle. And the rabbi looks at him like, "Well, he did this on," I forget what the rule was. This may not have been the rule. But he said, "Oh, he did this on the Sabbath? Well, he can't do miracles on the Sabbath. That's against the frickin' rules or whatever." And the guy looks at him and goes, "I'm telling you about a miracle, and you're talking to me about rules?" And he goes, "Oh, God," and he just walked away. Talking about literally missing the point and the pettiness of it. These people cannot get out of their logical brain. They cannot understand. It's like everything to them is about rules, and that's not what Jesus or the Bible was about. Hey men, think about this when it comes to dating and relationships. Alright, so here's one of the points I'm trying to make. Is men have been the ones who have been saying, "Okay, this is the Bible, we read it, and this is what it means." And they were completely 180 degrees, absolutely 100% wrong. The left brain is the either-or brain. It's the judgment brain. That's why everything in church is about judgment and right or wrong. It's about rules. You know, you step on a crack, you break your teacher's back, and you're going to go to hell. It's about eggshells. It's right or wrong, right or wrong. Everything is right or wrong. It's like, but then you listen to the teachings of Jesus and you don't hear any of that. But what you do hear is, it's about love. What did Jesus say to the woman out at the well? She said, "But I'm not a Jew, and I'm not allowed to go into the temple or the tabernacle, and they took this mountain away from us where we used to worship for years, and now we can't because I'm not a Jew, and because of this and because of that." And Jesus says, "Soon, one day, you won't have to go there. All you have to do is worship from your heart, truth and spirit." And then I think he was talking to Mary Magdalene. He says, "Pray from your heart." And he constantly says this, from your heart, from your heart, from your heart, from your heart. But Mike, that's not logical. You know what? You're actually right. It's not logical. It's emotional. Maybe you should clue in. What did Jesus say to the centurion? Love is the fulfillment of the commandments. Ladies, what do you think a left brain male's going to hear? See, Jesus says it's about rules because the commandment is a series of rules. Edit. The commandments were designed because humans refused to come out of hiding in the book of Genesis, hiding behind their logic. So they refused to open up to their hearts, so God had to make commandments. Guys, you do not need the 10 Commandments. If you approach things from your heart, you're going to love people. You're not going to steal from your neighbor. You're not going to covet his wife. You're not going to hurt him. You're not going to do bad things. In fact, people that have to go by the rules, they're constantly hurting people like, "Well, the rules doesn't say I couldn't do this, therefore it's okay." No, anytime you hurt someone, it's not okay. What's even worse is when they make a freaking tricky rule like, "Well, the rule says I can do this." Where's your heart at? See, if we came from our hearts, we wouldn't need all these rules. In fact, people that are very logical, they don't know how to function in society if you don't give them a rule. They're like, well, what do we do? Like, what's the rule? Like, well, there is no rule. Just go to the beach and do what you want. Well, I can't do that. What if I want to do something bad? Like, why would you want to do something bad? Well, there's no rule that says I can't. The rules are not for people that are coming from their heart. It's for people who can't come from their heart or stuck in their logical, rule-oriented brain. So what else does Jesus say? He also says to look within. Well, this is a technique that I learned a long time ago, a series of techniques about how to bring your awareness inside. It's like you're looking inside. And there's a couple drop-down techniques and expansive techniques that I'll teach you how to do. And what does this do? It opens you up to your right brain, your emotional processor. Do not speak bad of yourself, for the warrior within hears your words and is lessened by them. Old Japanese samurai proverb. This is very true because words affect your emotions. It's a biochemical reaction. So number one, clearly Jesus was a very right-brained person. The other way you can also tell is whenever you see a picture of Jesus, there's something that kind of is different. You can't quite tell what it is, right? His pupils are dilated. So when you bring your awareness inside, your pupils open up. When you go into your right brain, your emotional processor, your pupils get larger. Clearly, the Bible was meant to be associated. It was meant to be internal. It was meant to be processed through the internal right brain. The challenge or problem was men have been in power up until very, very recently, and everything was taught, read, and understood through the left brain, and thus we were taught the wrong things, and we completely misunderstood some of the most basic teachings that Jesus taught us. And this is what the Great Awakening is all about. If you have come this far, I'm about to shift this to the actual purpose of this video, so keep going. So if you read the Bible or any book or any poem or any song, you're going to hear what the left brain says if you're in your left brain. So if you look at the Bible from your left brain, what do you think? What do you get? Oh, it's about a bunch of rules. No, it's not. But if you're processing it through that, especially Jesus, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, if you look at the teachings of Jesus and you're like, oh, it's a bunch of rules, you totally missed it. I mean, completely missed it. So again, the left brain's the judgmental brain. It's about right or wrong. It's about rules. What's the rule? What's the right way to do it? What's the wrong way? And there's a lot of punishment, a lot of shame, and a lot of guilt being thrown throughout the church. This is absolutely not what it was about from God or from Jesus. Now, when you read it from the right brain, you are associated to it. And this is really what my whole purpose of this video is about right here. See, when you read the Bible from the left brain, it's like you're pushing it away. It's dissociated. So it's like out there. It's just some story. But when you read it from the right brain, everything shifts. It comes to life. Now, because we were taught the Bible from the left brain, from a left brain person, well, we saw it from an external, dissociated, disconnected way. And because of that, we never understood it. Here's the funny thing though. Women did. But for centuries, they were always told, no, 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 you're wrong. That's not what it means. Yes, it does. See, Jesus said, look within. Jesus' eyes are pupil are dilated. And when you read what he says, you're like, well, this is the internal language. This is the right brain language. If you are listening to it through the left brain language, it's going to change the meaning to everything Jesus said. I mean, this is a typical conversation between a man and a woman. She says A out of her right brain, 3, 4, 5 sentences or 3 or 4 paragraphs, and then he filters it through his left brain and he hears B, and boom, the argument begins. And you're like, yeah, you said this and it means that. She's like, no, I said this and it means that. And he's like, no, you said this and this means that, because here's why. The left and right brain give two completely, radically different meanings to the same words. So when she says A out of her right brain, it really does mean what she says it means. But he, by default, processes through the left brain. It changes the meaning to everything she just said, and he really, really believes it means something else. And he's like, no, you said this and this means that. She's like, no, I'm telling you, I said this and this means that. And this is how the Bible was read. It was read from the left brain. It's a right brain book, especially the teachings of Jesus, the book of Revelation, and on, especially the New Testament. But because men had the power and they were the decision makers, and they're, well, this is what I read and this is what what my brain is processing and what it's hearing and seeing and understanding. Yep, but man, were you wrong. And that's what they taught the entire world. Do you remember that part in the Bible? It's also in the Chosen One where Jesus is trying to explain something to them. And he gets really frustrated. He goes, how do you not understand what I'm saying? It's because they're listening from the wrong brain. When I went through my spiritual awakening, all of a sudden the Bible made sense. It was like, wow, this is actually really simple. It was like every piece connected. 1 + 1 = 2, 2 + 1 = 3. And I was so blown away. I called my pastor like, hey, I either get this or I don't get it at all. He laughed. He goes, no, he goes, Michael, we've been watching you. You're going through an awakening. You are absolutely getting it. And so he goes, bring your questions. Come over for dinner, I don't know, a week later, whatever. He goes, and just ask me whatever you want and we'll go over it. Turns out everything that I thought it said is what it actually said. Now, this is the whole purpose. So this is the part 2 of this video. It's going to be much shorter though. So here's the deal. When you read the book of Genesis, most of us, I know I did until I woke. When I woke up, it was a completely, literally 180-degree different shift perspective. But before that, I was like, oh, okay, well, there's this person named Adam and there's Eve, and they had sex and had children, and then the serpent comes along and screws everything. Oh, well, that sucks for them. Wow, okay. And then there's the book of Revelation, and that's out in the future somewhere. That's way out there. And Adam and Eve, they're way back there, way back in time. That's thousands of years, or more than thousands of years ago. And then you've got Cain killed Abel because Cain was jealous and he was in a rage and blah, blah, blah. And he killed Abel and on and on. And, they talk about the seed of Seth and the seed of Cain. Who cares, man? Whatever. But then I realized, wait a minute. They're not talking about Adam and Eve thousands of years ago, whether it was 5,000 or 10,000 or however long ago. They're talking about you right now. The serpent was a narcissist. The technique of shame is a narcissist tactic, guilt and shame by gaslighting. And then God says, who told you that you were naked? That was a narcissist making stuff up, adding words, taking away words from, because that's what narcissists do. They'll add a word or take a word out, or take okay, my famous one that I like to say is money's the root of all evil. It's like, well, it doesn't say that. He took off the first couple words. It says the love of money is the root of all evil. But you don't hear that. So what happened to a lot of you that had fortunately gone to church enough, read your Bible enough, and heard the story of Cain and Abel and the serpent and the Garden of Eden and all that stuff, and all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, that's what's happening right now. That's exactly what this narcissist is doing. And he's in a full rage because he's jealous just like Cain and blah, blah, blah. And you're like, wait a minute, was the Bible warning me in my lifetime right now? Yes. If you read the book of Genesis from the associated perspective, all of a sudden like, oh, they're talking to me right now saying, hey, you got to look out for these tricksters. You got to look out for these people who try to shame you and blame you and make stuff. Hey, if you do this, you're going to go to hell. Hey, ooh, you're going to, you're naked. You should be ashamed. Now you hide. All of a sudden you see through all the bullshit. God was warning you in this lifetime. Your child, your child's child, your grandmother, your grandfather, people in the past. It wasn't just for way back then, dissociated. It's for right now. Anyone who's alive right now, right here. It was for the last generation, the generation before, the generation before. It's going to be for the next one, the next one after that, and on and on. It's for all of us. If our teachers of the Bible, which were men, had read the Bible from the right brain, all of a sudden they'd be like, oh, this is like for right now. Oh, we need to teach people to watch out for narcissists. Here's the tactics. Here's the steps. This is what they're going to... But none of us got taught that. We had to learn it the hard way because we were taught them. And actually, this is my being very, very kind and very nice to the way they taught it. I don't believe they actually did it on accident. I think they did it on purpose. And then from men who are left brain, the followers of the church, they support it because that's what their left brain told them to, and they didn't know any better. Your left brain is not your power brain. Your right brain is what gives you power, social power. It is the right brain is the social brain. It's the relationship brain. Believe it or not, but when you enter sports, boxing, kickboxing, football, in the right brain, that's where you get your emotional power. By convincing you to be Mr. Logic, they disconnected you from your power, and that was the goal all along. Men, when you're in your logical brain, women look at you like your little boy, because the logical brain is the little boy brain. It's the brain it's the follower brain. It's the external brain. So you're looking outside of your body for the rules. You need somebody to tell you what to believe, what to think, and what to do. That's what a little boy does. Do you want to know what a man does? He thinks for himself. And lo and behold, guess what women want in a man? A man who can think for himself. Who would have known? In other words, it's kind of obvious. But we have generations of men that are little boys who don't think for themselves, who look to their wife, well, what should I do? She's kind of looking at you like, seriously, you want me to be the man in this relationship? Okay. And yes, I teach men how to do this in my course, Cracked Female Code. Who would have thought that by teaching you how to give her what she wants in a relationship, you get what you want in a relationship? Interesting, huh? So this was all part of the trick to take over the world, and this is what narcissists have done. They've convinced men to be stuck in their logic. Don't open up, because opening is bad. It means you're weak. It means you're effeminate. No, it doesn't. When you open up to your right brain, that's where you get your emotional fuel. So if you've got a Ferrari or a pumped up Corvette or Mustang or whatever, it's like you don't have any fuel in the gas tank. I don't care how powerful that engine is. It's not going to go anywhere if you don't have any fuel. And that's what the logical male is. They don't have any fuel. Now here's another problem when we're taught the teachings of Jesus or the Bible from the external brain. So I'm going to use me as an example. So here I come along and I say, oh, so-and-so is going to die in 2 weeks, and then they die. And instead of looking at me like, wow, this guy's a prophet, they're like, oh, what's wrong? And I'm talking about the church, Christian people. Oh, something's wrong with him. Wait, what? It's just like when Jesus came along. Did they embrace him and go, wow, look at all these miracles this guy's doing? Obviously he's the Son of God, or he's from God. No, they said, they literally said, oh, you're doing the devil's work. Or you must be using a demon or something. Here's why. Because in the two-dimensional left logical brain, There's no spirituality. There's no connection. There's not only no connection to it, there's no awareness of it. It's not real. Not to the left brain. And that's what always confused me or weirded me out when it came to Christians. Is like, they talk about a God, they talk about angels and demons and the devil. They talk about Jesus, and he came down to the planet and he died and he was resurrected and he healed people and he healed this person and he walked on water, he turned water into wine. And yet if you do something spiritual in front of them, they look at you and be like, well, that can't be real. You must be evil. Remember, the third dimension is the first dimension where you can finally connect and ground and open up to higher dimensions. When you are truly emotionally grounded and open to your right brain to 3D, see 3 dimensions: see, hear, feel, smell, and taste. So when you walk outside, you can see the trees, you can smell the flowers in the air, you can feel, you can hear everything. That's the 3 dimension. Now, you're not stuck there. It's not a box. See, this is the difference, because 2-dimensional people are like, well, that's not a spiritual level. Well, it is, because you're open to and can receive, because this is the open brain, whereas the 2-dimensional brain is in a box. Well, that's just another box from their perspective, because they're not in the 3rd-dimensional right brain. So here Jesus comes along and they rebuke him, and yet he's doing all the signs that the Bible had said, hey, here's how you know that the Christ is going to come. And what was it? Not Elijah, was it Elijah, or it was Jesus' cousin? Cannot remember his name right now. Who spoke about, hey, this is how you're going to know that this being is going to be the one. Actually, I think it was John the Baptist, if I remember right. Sorry, I'm not going to go to my Bible because this is getting way too long for a video. So, we went through the witch trials, and they were burning women at the stake, and all this stuff. Why? Because the 2-dimensional rule-oriented brain says that anything that is literally outside of their limited, small, little box, well, it must be evil because we don't understand it, we can't do it, and therefore it's wrong and bad. But in church, we're going to tell you that it's good and that it's real and it's possible, except when it actually does happen, then they're going to flip out. Most Christians don't know, because they didn't actually read their Bible, is that Jesus taught the disciples. He literally said, he taught them how to heal people. He literally said, now go in pairs unto the world and do unto others. In other words, not only just heal them, but to also teach. The teachings from Jesus on healing, it's all over the planet. Read your Bible. So these teachings were purposely hidden from you, and yet it's right there in the Bible. The rich, the elite that wanted to control us, they didn't want you to know. So the purpose of this video is this: read the Bible from the associated perspective, because God is trying to warn you right now in this life. He's also trying to teach you how to eat healthy, how to be happy. He's trying to protect you. Say, hey, look out for these things. When a person is this way, look out for them. Look for the signs, like their fruit. Are they angry? Are they bitter? Are they this? Then get away. The Bible clearly states that you are to be given one or more spiritual gifts. The gifts of healing, the gifts of prophecy, the gifts of like knowing something that's going on in another area. I can't remember the word for that. But there's a lot of spiritual gifts that you're supposed to have, at least one or more. I went to very Christian churches that were like, oh no, that's evil, that's wrong. And it's like, that's all I've ever heard. You need to start reading your Bible as if you're associated, as if God's saying, hey, look out for this, look out for that. It wasn't for those people back then, and it's not for those people up there. It's for right here, right now. And love truly is the power that you've always been looking for. I don't mean, oh, I'm going to be nice and sweet. That's not love. Love is coming from your heart, from your physical flesh, your body, like I'm doing right now. Versus being very logical, now you disconnected from your power. You were always meant to be a comfortably powerful being. We were the ones that God gave the earth to. Genesis 1:26 through 28. And God said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. We were given the power, the dominion, and the authority over the earth to run it, to till it, to take care of it. But Narcissist tricked us out of this gift that was given to us by God. And right there, that's it. That's it. That's what it's all about. That last thing I just said, that's it. Now look at the earth right now. Look at your own life right now. Look at the wars that are going on the planet right now. The evil ones, the narcissists, they're trying to take this gift away. Not only when it comes to land, but also over your own life, over your own power, over your own destiny. Now associate those verses into you right now, about you, about your life. They tricked you out of your power. They tricked you out of your authority. They tricked you to make you believe that you were nothing, that you were nobody. They tricked you out of your own spiritual gifts, out of your own spiritual power. They convinced you that it was either not real or that it was wrong, that somehow it would make you bad. Go ahead, visualize, pray powerfully, and watch what happens. I can't remember the verse, but God gave you power over the evil ones. God gave you power over the enemy. Period. End of sentence. All you have to do is pray for their demise, visualize their demise, and it shall be so. Just imagine that the punishment that they put upon you goes back to them tenfold, 10 times to the 10th power. And it shall be so. Pray to God for divine justice. Ask God, tell God to give divine justice right now. Get on your knees right now. Put your hands together and pray to God. Look up to God and say that you are calling judgment on them. Tell God you are now calling judgment on them, and I promise you this, it shall be so. You watch. The energy in the air, the times are different. You are waking up. That's why you're on this channel. You have the power. Just do it. These beings have been given lifetimes after lifetimes after lifetimes to turn back to God. They won't. It is now time to call judgment. All you have to do is call out to God, I call judgment on these people over and over. This is the end times. It's over. Hey, this is Mike Kollin at MikeKollin.com. If you like this video, please click subscribe, click the like button, go ahead and make a comment, and if you want, there's a PayPal donation link right there in the description box. God bless you guys. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.